Tom.
Hey, guys.
Hello.
Hey, Tom.
Joe, I just text Chris. He's trying to get in too.
Okay,
Chris Minor.
thank you.
All right, we are live.
Okay, we'll call the Town Hall Renovations Project Building Committee on this 14th day of July, 2021 to order. Mr. Barron, if you'd be so inclined, would you take the roll, please?
Yes, members are asked to signify their presence when their name is called. Councilor Bedrico.
Here.
Councilor Minor. Mr. Claffey. Mr. Mortensen. Mr. Murtha.
Here.
Mr. Woods.
Here.
Mr. Harpy.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Counselor Minor is in as well. He may have a problem with his mic.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion for approval of prior meeting minutes of the June 2nd, 2021 meeting. Don Woods, would you make that motion, please?
Sure. So moved.
Gail, I need a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those consenting to the minutes, please say aye.
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 Ayes have it. Public participation. Any member of the public?
Nobody on with us right now.
Okay, moving right along. Downs, project update. As you know, we've had some fairly severe weather, as we all know and can appreciate, and it's had some impact on the project, and Frank is going to review that first for us before we get into the project financial summary. Frank?
Okay, you want to do that? Sure. Yeah, with the wind-driven rain that we recently encountered over the past, I don't know how many days, seems like every day it's rained. I don't know how long, but past couple storms created some water infiltration issues, specifically within the area between the gymnasium and the town hall. So we had some water infiltration in human services. There was some water infiltration within the transition academy. And then a third encounter within the IT suite, which is also adjacent to human services. So we recently repaired those roof areas. We had the roofing subcontractor come out and investigate. And as of this afternoon, all the areas I just mentioned to you were repaired. Our superintendent met up with the roofer this afternoon. They actually started at the Transition Academy, made some repairs there on Monday, and they finished the balance of the work this afternoon.
Does anyone have any questions of Downs in reference to that? Mr. Minor?
Thank you, Joe. Frank, were they roof penetration issues? Was it flashing? What did they find?
Yeah, so what the investigation revealed was we had some very small, what I'm going to call pinholes within the sealant that goes around the flashing for pipe penetrations.
Okay.
What they believe happened, of course, it's just really speculation, but what they believe could have happened, somebody could have, hit the pipe boot that penetrates the roof that could have disturbed the sealant, and that could have been the culprit. In any event, everything is fixed, and I guess we'll put it to the test over the next couple of days.
Okay, so there was no membrane punctures that were found, or no cap flashing. It was just all the witches' caps were primarily what they felt were the suspects.
That's correct. Yes.
All right. Thank you.
I also want to mention during the investigation that we did with Greenwood, we have an expansion joint cover that is also missing between the community center and the town hall. So we immediately alerted the responsible subcontractor to come out and install that cover. I know we're working on getting them back over the next couple days. So that simply we just have to cover an expansion joint. There's backer rod there now, but a cover has to go on and it has to get sealed.
So these areas wouldn't have been identified earlier. We were making an assumption that the ceiling was proper, or I assume, right?
Yeah, there's no way to tell at this point if, if it was something that happened a long time ago or something more recent. I don't know how much traffic has been up on the roof, probably not much. It's really hard to say what specifically would have caused that to happen.
Okay, but we're good now.
Yes.
Would you discuss with the committee the burnt out motor? And motor
Yeah.
rooftop unit?
Yeah, so there was a report of a foul odor emanating from the gymnasium. And when we evaluated, come to find out the source of that odor was from the rooftop unit that feeds the gym. It's rooftop unit number 1. It's the large unit that sits on the roof between the gym and the town hall. Inside that unit, there was an exhaust fan motor that burnt out. So that contributed to the odor that was sensed by the, by the kids and people occupying the space below. So we immediately contacted our vendor. A new motor is on order. It was supposed to come in today. It didn't show up today. We're told, as of this afternoon, we're told it should be in tomorrow. And we have manpower lined up for this Friday to remove and replace it.
Are there any questions on that from committee members?
Yeah, Joe, is RTU 1 operational or no?
It is operational.
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, Joe, can I have,
Yeah,
go back to the water issue?
absolutely.
I also thought, and I don't have the memo in front of me, but in addition to the leakage from the roof, I thought there was, it seemed like there was a substantial stream of water coming through one of the electrical boxes. And then the accompanying memo said that some groundwater was going up above some of the buried electrical boxes or something. Can you?
Frank, do you want to respond to that, please?
Yeah, so Gail, there was one location on the east side of the building where we had conduit stubbed up. I believe it's a lighting conduit. And just the amount of rainfall that we had was so much that it was actually going over the top of the conduit and down inside and then coming into the building. So when on investigation of that issue, we contacted the electrical subcontractor, and he simply extended that conduit and assembly and raised it up so that water could not get back into that conduit. But with 4.5 inches of rain, I think it was close to 4.5 inches of rain. That's quite a significant amount of rainfall that comes in, and so that's what we did to correct it. We raised it up, and we put another box on it so that rainfall could not go over the top of it.
Because, I know it was an unusual amount of rainfall, but it seems each year we're having more and more of these storms. So I'm glad to hear that it was raised a bit. Thank you.
Yeah, we raised it up enough so that it couldn't happen again in the future.
Any other
Joe.
questions on that issue? I'm sorry, who was it?
It's Don, Joe. Don Woods.
Yes.
Going back to the water issue, Frank, did the leaks cause any damage on the interior of the building? Or none that's significant?
So as far as the interior is concerned, obviously with some of the water that came in, it wasn't a major water infiltration issue, but we did have some rain obviously dripping into the space. So there are some damaged ceiling tiles, and we are making arrangements to come out and replace those ceiling tiles, but there's less than a handful of tiles that we have to replace.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And if there aren't any other questions on that, I just had one point. Would Don's recommend that the town develop a preventive maintenance program or a projected program rather than just a preventive program for maintenance. In other words, something that would project out that certain things on that building should be reviewed on whatever kind of basis the statistics would prove it should be utilized.
Yes, certainly, Joe, a preventative maintenance program would be, beneficial for obvious reasons. And I know, reviewing rooftop unit 1 with Paul, he did confirm that there was a level of maintenance performed back in April on that unit. Why the motor burnt out at this point is really unknown, but it sounds like they are going through some sort of maintenance program already. I would also recommend that they do, annual inspections of the roof as well and put that on the list.
Okay, that's very good. Thank you. And we're confident that the gradual burnout of this motor with the fan not operating the way it should, are we confident that it in no way contributed to the vibration from this unit on through to the pantry area and offices? Do we know
Yeah,
that?
as far as the vibration issue is concerned, I think the two issues are totally unrelated.
Okay,
We still have a vibration issue. We will have a vibration issue even after we replace the exhaust fan motor.
all right, moving right along. Do you want to give us the project financial summary review, please, Frank?
Sure.
Hey, Joe, just one more quick
Yes.
thing before we move.
Yes.
Just to circle back, Frank, on the electrical box, the inbox. They've just got a hi-hat that's basically above grade. That's not the final fix. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, I mean, they put that there to ensure that no more water got in. We can look at that again to see if we've got to do some permanent regrading in that area to address some of that water issue.
Right, because it just looked like it might have just been a little bit low, especially with the generator pad just being a few feet away. That being higher than that might be a possibility of being problematic of just the water running back at it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Minor.
Counselor Bedrejko still has her hand raised. I wasn't sure if she's still,
Go ahead, please.
No, that was from earlier. Thank you, James.
no problem.
We didn't take any water into the storage basement area, did we?
Not that I'm aware of. No one reported any water down there.
I can confirm I walked through with the emergency management director, Ms. Mankey, and we did not notice any infiltration of water in the walls or in the floor itself or through any of the drains. So that I can confirm for you.
Thank you, James. That's good news. Okay, go ahead, Frank, with the financial project update.
Sure. So jumping right into the financial summary, starting with the original GMP, obviously unchanged, the 27,769.89. The total approved change order request to date. So this number has adjusted slightly. I put COP 154 in parentheses, only because after we took another look at this, and as we get a lot closer to a point where we can final bill the project, it became evident that we were carrying the fiber loop, which is COP 154. If you guys recall, we approved that a while back, last year sometime, and we were tracking that. We were tracking that in the approved change order request amount, and we were tracking that in the CIP amount. So obviously, we can only get paid once for that change, and so we backed it out of the approved change order request amount. So that's been adjusted to 859,261.20, which brings our revised GMP to 28,620,250.20. And between the pending and approximate, at this point, it's just pending PCOs. I have two of them up that I'm presenting this evening that are deducts that total 4,614.45. So that would bring the anticipated final GMP value to 28,615, 635, 75. Within the CM contingency, so we've totally exhausted the funds that were available there. So there is nothing left within the CM contingency. And Jim, if you could just scroll down for me. Thanks. Taking a look at the owner's contingency that we reconciled the beginning of last year, we had 868, 405. And we have spent 859, 261, 20 against owner's contingency, which would leave a remaining 11,143, 80. Soft cost remains unchanged. I've reported this number just as a marker to track the overall budget amount. So the 1,706,810 is what we've tracked for soft costs. And then within the CIP funds that became available over the course of the project, really at the end of November last year is when CIP funds became available for this project. So we've got 326, 556, 88, plus an additional 96, 983, 82. And that's offset by the approved amount and the 330, 945, 69. The amount that I'm presenting this evening, the pending COPs against CIP funds, which totals 18,267.93, and we're left with 74,327.08. Of course, that excludes any of the day two work that we've been talking about, and I do have I think we're down to just one item, the isolators for RTU1 at this point. Any questions on that before we go over the schedule?
Questions or downs on that? Okay, moving right along.
Okay. All right, so jumping into schedule again, we talked about punch list last week, or not last week, sorry, last month rather, regarding the PD. So all the punch list items we have addressed. We did mention the ceiling tiles that we now have to remove and replace. So I guess we can add that to the list of things to do. But essentially all the punch list items have been taken care of. And we did the final CO walkthrough, and I'm happy to report that we do have a final certificate of occupancy for the total project. So work in progress, nothing to report at this time, although I mentioned the roof repairs we completed earlier this afternoon. And I mentioned the exhaust fan motor, which is under, excuse me, which is under work to start. Hopefully, if that, like I said, if that motor comes in tomorrow, we have plans to be back out there at the end of this week to replace the burnt out motor. The roof repairs I mentioned, so that work is done. The building plaque, I skipped over that. The building plaque right now, I understand, and maybe Chris O'Neill has a better update. I understand Chris is working right now with local signage vendor SignPro to get through the shop drawing approval process for the plaque, so that we can get that squared away and get that material released and get get that in fabrication and get a delivery date. Critical items, just flagging the day two work again, and we're going to get to that shortly. What's that, Joe?
Going to be in somewhere in our, well, one of us has got to be alive to see it. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so the day two work, again, I just flagged that as critical, and I've got a list to share with you all. Other action items, we can scroll down, James.
That's as far as I can scroll.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's where the screen is for the presentation.
Okay.
So I'm showing change order proposals for approval, pending revisions and orders of magnitude.
All right, no
bonding
worries.
revisions.
I got it. I got another screen open. I can't see it for some reason, but anyway, we go right into the COPs that I'm presenting this evening for approval. So starting with COP 350, and this is off of the day two list, mind you. It's to add a toilet partition, a single partition to the second floor men's room for $2,007. The next one, 351, again, off of the day two list. This is to provide FRP panels similar to the panels we installed at the commercial kitchen. They're Marlite panels. There's a total of 3 locations. We have 1 custodial closet in the Board of Ed, and we have 2 within the, I believe, the community center. And it's a little over 100 square feet of FRP for $2,658.90. 355 is another reconciliation that we've done, going through the GMP. We've got final bond costs. Most of this cost, by the way, is from the electrical subcontractor, who had a decent amount of changes, as you all know, on this project. So the reconciliation totals $11,110.48, and then 389. So that is a small credit. That's a small give back on the flagpole change. We had it initially proposed going back out to the site, mounting the flagpoles. However, when we actually got around to getting a crew out there to do the installation, unfortunately, because these flagpoles are 30 feet high and the angle that the brackets are at doesn't allow flagpole, or the flags rather, at the top of the poles to wave freely. They hit the building, and I believe, Joe, you were present for some of that work while it was happening. So we decided, in the best interest of the project, that we would take the poles down. They've been left to the side for now, and we're crediting back some of the material and labor that was part of the original COP to put the install together in the first place. So that reconciliation gives back $2,614.45. 391 was time and material for our mechanical subcontractor to go back to the PD and extend copper condensate piping for the split system. That totals $5,106. And lastly, 392, again, as we get through the billing for all of the trades, we had 1 line item for the masonry subcontractor. We held a couple $1,000s on that line item. I believe it was for the alternate for the basement. We didn't perform any scope in addition to what we initially issued the masonry subcontractor. So there is a credit of $2,000 for that. So we have, I've got a couple totals at the bottom, $18,267.93, which would go against CIP funds, and then the $2,000 credit going back into the owner's contingency for the masonry subcontractor reconciliation.
Mr. Murtha, did you have your hand up?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, please.
Frank, where are the American flags, the flagpoles going in? Where are they going to be installed?
Well, they were going to be installed on the west side of the building, but they're not going to be installed unless we discuss another option to mount the flagpoles. Maybe Tom or Chris can offer some suggestions on what they think might work there.
Well, the suggestions the first time around didn't work. I'm really concerned about this with the flagpoles. I mean, somebody just didn't do their homework on that, or doesn't know American history, one of the two, about how a flagpole should be installed, the height of it. There's so many avenues that weren't touched on this, and it was just thrown at us. You know, American flag, when it goes up, you got to have the drag force, you got the flag load, and you know, you contact the National Association of Architectural Metal Manufacturers guy. It tells you exactly how a flagpole should be installed, not climbing on a roof and installing an American flag. I mean, it was just BS the way it was done.
Yeah, I mean, we put our heads together. We came up with a pulley system that would alleviate the problem of having someone go on top of the canopy to, raise and lower the flag.
It worked at the Old Town Hall for 50 years. It works all around the country.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we don't, that this flagpole setup that was proposed isn't a conventional approach, that the flagpoles are not in the ground, they're coming off the face of the building. So obviously that was the challenge in itself, was to figure out how we could get these flagpoles installed and still be able to wave the flags freely. And I think the only option that we have, if we still want to go down this road and maintain the same look, would be to get new flagpoles that are taller, that will clear the top of the building.
What happened to our old flagpoles?
What's that?
What happened to our old flagpoles?
He wants to know what happened to the 30 footers.
I think the town kept those flagpoles.
No, they didn't.
No? Okay.
Somebody took them.
Yeah, they weren't slated to be salvaged. I thought maybe the town had taken them before we got into demo.
Nope.
Yeah, they were supposed to be salvaged. That was under the former administration. So I'll leave. That's all I'm going to say about it. Mr. Minor, you had your hand up, please? No? Okay.
Thanks, Joe. Yeah, so just quickly, has there been any consideration given to either putting longer poles up and actually done any further detail on it, or changing the angle of the bracket to put them further away from the building? Where are we at with this outside of just not doing it or not proceeding with it?
Mr. Minor?
I think that's where it was left with the design team. They were exploring that option. I'd really like to hear from Tom or Chris on that.
Hey, Frank, it's Chris.
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, we looked into it a little bit, and I talked to an engineer, and based on the current design of the brackets, he said as tall as we can go is 36 feet without re-engineering what's there, which would get us above the roof at full height. But then again, the concern becomes half-staff when the flag would be flying lower. It would be possibly contacting the building. And the other option mentioned was possibly changing the angle. And I haven't looked too far into that because I believe that's going to wind up being another engineering exercise that would require refabricated flagpole brackets, but that is an option.
Dale, you had a question, please?
Yeah, I guess. What is the issue with having a normal flagpole? Is just somebody think it's aesthetically not in concert with brand new building or whatever? I mean,
I don't think there is no issue with that at all. I think the issue is that we went down this path of trying to make this work, and we've come so far. We came up with custom brackets that would accommodate these flagpoles, and unfortunately we've run into this height issue. So we could go to a conventional setup and put flagpoles in the ground. I don't think that's the issue.
I mean, at this point, you get the flags up there and they work in 90% of the buildings in the state and the country. It looks fine, with some flowers around it, whatever. I don't know. I think so much time and effort has been spent on something that
Mr.
really
Chairman,
is not going to detract from the aesthetics of the building.
Mr. Chairman,
Thank you, Gail. Mr. Murtha, please.
one of the reasons is nobody knows the history of how a flagpole should be installed, what it consists of, and I'll guarantee the architectural firm can't even tell me what the object on the top of the flagpole is called and what goes in it. There's things, American history, it'll tell you all of this stuff, and nobody's done their homework on that.
Okay, well, what I was
Now, I mean, you want a history lesson, I'll give you a history lesson on what the hell should go on it. But I'm sure you don't want to listen to me ramble on for a half an hour how it should be done.
Committee always appreciate your input. I think, we made a valiant effort to have this work, and it looks like it's going to be very difficult and more expensive to try to go to a longer pole and then view that. So I would recommend that we support the traditional, putting it up on the soil area that we designate as the appropriate place to go. And then there won't be any issue other than getting it done. And I appreciate all the efforts on the part of the design team and Downs to try to make this thing work. But I think, you know, we've already gotten the full CO on this building, and the public views this as time to move on, you know. So I think we need to get our heads together, and I would ask to set a target date for just discontinuing this and moving forward with the traditional planting of the pole and flags. Okay, we have need of a motion to approve the items, the COPs that we just reviewed, a total of $18,267.93, and approval of the $2,000 of owners' dollars going back into the owner's contingency fund. Do I have a motion on the item?
Mr. Chair, quick question.
Yes, Mr. Minor.
Frank, is the owner's contingency amount correct? Because it seems like it represents 392, but not 389, unless I'm missing something.
Okay, could we come back to that? Because I just want to get this motion approved, and then we can make adjustments later on the owner's contingency that's calculated out, unless there's a...
Well, this is within the motion.
Okay, yeah, this number that we're talking about is a reconciliation of the final contract value for the masonry. Essentially, that's where that's coming to us.
18, to clarify for Chris Minor, the 18,267.93. So that does include the credit that's within COP 389.
All right, that's all I needed. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion for the approval of 18,267.93 CIP funds. A second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
So approved. Mr. Barron, do you need any motions on transfer of funds?
No, I do not.
Okay, sir, thank you. Okay. Any other business pertinent to the committee, or do you have other issues that you want to discuss first, Frank, in your presentation?
Yeah, let me just finish the agenda, Joe, if I may.
Yep.
Going to the rejected COPs, the next item. Well, orders of magnitude, section C, I have nothing to report there. And then rejected COPs, I did add a couple off of the day 2 list. The art room cooling, we all came to the conclusion that the adjustments that were made through a rebalance eliminated any need to add any HVAC or dedicated ventilation. So the 16.5, I put that into the rejected column. And the dry chem system for the data room, that was also part of a day 2 discussion. You know, we concluded on that it's not a code issue. You can certainly meet code with a wet pipe system, and that's what we installed per the contract document. So that was put into the rejected category as well. Okay, under the requisitions, so just a snapshot in time per the latest bill that we put together for June. We have about 5,300 as a balance to finish, and the retainage we're holding is about 5,300, and that is strictly for the landscaping subcontractor. And then a couple day 2 items. I mentioned before we were tracking some day 2 stuff. The spring isolators, we've talked about that, as you all know, on more than one committee meeting, and so we're still tracking that as part of day 2 with $134,000 rough order of magnitude. And then there's some signage I understand the town would like to change within the town hall. I need to meet with the town to get a better understanding of what that scope entails. So for now, all I can do is put a TBD next to the dollar amount until I iron out what exactly they're looking for in terms of interior signage.
Okay, Frank, on the isolator issue, I sent an email to Mr. Chapman, and hopefully all the committee members got it, staking out the position of the committee to get that work done. We consider it an important piece of work to be done, should be done. But we had a couple of questions, and I'll have a sidebar with Keith about facilitating this for him. I had a question from committee members. Should not DTC review the process that's laid out by Kinetics Noise Control of how all this work should be done? I know Ferguson will be doing the largest part of the work here on the electrical, but the committee would have
I'm not, Joe, I'm not in disagreement at all on that approach. I reached out to Quisenberry to get in contact with DTC for their feedback on the fix.
Okay. Does the design team have any comment on that?
Yeah,
Joe.
Joe,
I'm
we'll
sorry,
have
go ahead.
DTC look. Sorry, Joe, it's Tom. We'll have DTC look at this.
Okay.
And additionally, Joe, it's Chris. We send it over to the acoustician who made a recommendation to up the depth of the springs in the isolators. So I sent that over to Downs to see if there was any cost impact to that. I think their thought was that the equipment needed a longer spring travel, but waiting to hear back. That impacted price at all from Downs.
Okay, now, so we know, do we? There's no committee request for a little more information. Has it been determined whether the decimal level, or however this is being measured, the isolation of this piece of equipment, at what level that's at and what level it should be at to get rid of most of that vibration? Is there any measuring stick that we can say if we do X with the isolators, then we should, I mean, I know there's a general understanding that it's going to be reduced, but I guess, is there anything more specific in terms of the degree of reduction that we can point to for the voters in Newington who approved the referendum so many months ago? Can we tell them anything in terms of that's going to happen? I know aren't any guarantees in life. Lots of warranties, but not many guarantees. Learned that over the years. But is there any way to measure that? I guess it's why if there isn't, there isn't. But any thoughts on that?
Joe,
Yes, Don.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I've got to go. Don Woods. So I just want to say, if this is the last meeting, it was great getting to know you guys, Frank, Tom, Chris. Tom, I hope we meet up again in some other future project, but good luck. I got to go to work at the extravaganza. They said there's over 100 people standing in line trying to get in, so I got to go. Okay.
Have fun, Don.
Take care. Bye now.
Don. Nice working with you as well.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Don.
A pleasure.
Okay.
Councilor Bedrejko, do you have your hand raised?
No, that was from before.
Okay, that's fine.
All right. Any other business pertinent to the committee? Hearing none. Public participation. Any member of the public?
Still nobody with us.
They're all at the extravaganza.
Exactly.
All 100 of them. Comments by committee members. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Second?
Second, Ed Murtha.
Okay, we stand adjourned. Thank you very much. Have a good
Thanks,
evening.
everybody.
Thank you.
Extravaganza. Take care.
Good night.
Good night.
See you, Joe.
Bye-bye, Tom.